But this moves from our keynote into our annual awards as we keep going through the emotional part of our conference, where we do honor people who've made great contributions to folk music in the Southeast. Our founding president, Kari Estrin, started these awards for that purpose a few years ago and brought him in as part of our program along with the keynote. And so I want to call Kari Estrin on up here to the microphone. We kindly institutionalized the awards this year, and Kari and Clint Bernard and I formed a committee to select 3 recipients for this year's award, and Kari gets to do the first presentation.
I can't talk. You started me. Oh, that was so moving and marvelous. Okay, stopping now. It's emotional for me also because it's wonderful to see everything moving forward. Thank you all for being here. It's all your fault. Okay. I'm really happy. Thank you, Art, for inviting me to do the first presentation. You know, we're all business people. We're musicians and business people. We're trying to survive. And so best practices state that if you're going to start an organization for folk music, you're going to have a business plan. You're going to have timelines and goals. But this first organization that we are going to honor, the Sundilla Radio Hour and Concert Series, that's not how it happened. It happened more organically. It happened from a desire to fill a need for artists. It happened from passion, which we've witnessed, and with all of you to make a difference. A woman named Katie Lamar Smith, back in 1993, was a freelance journalist. And there used to be this wonderful downtown festival in Birmingham called City Stages. Anyone ever go? I've been there. It was great. And do you all know who Steve Young is, who wrote Seven Bridges Road? A shout out to the memory of Steve. And he was playing City Stages, and Katie was going to interview him afterwards. And so after the interview, he goes, you know, I kind of like it around here. Is there anyone else or anywhere else to play? And she said no, but she didn't want to take no for an answer. So she said, I'll set something up for you. And that's where it all begins, isn't it? With that desire to fill that need. And so she contacted the local college, and they had a lawn. That was good enough. And 100 people came, and Steve played. After it was over, Steve said, this is great. And I think Katie felt what Kathy was talking about being able to bring people together. And that's why I just cried, too, because that's what we do here. We bring people together, and I'm so glad to see that. And so she did this, and the word spread, and she said, well, yeah, tell it to other people. And so Steve said, hey, listen, if you're going to Auburn, Alabama, there's this woman, and you can call her, and she'll help you out. So 23 concerts later in a year, she was established. And that happened for 2 more years on the lawn until they moved into the Unitarian Church. And just like SERFA, which has started with people like Denise and Jim McGill and Ben Scales and Randy Wynn, Sundilla started growing. That concert series started getting volunteers, because it's without volunteers, nothing happens. And so 5 years into this, a new volunteer stepped up to the plate, who's here with us tonight, Bailey Jones. And he decided to help out and volunteer. And then after 4 years, Katie was like, look, I'll produce these shows, but I don't want to book them anymore. So Bailey stepped up to the plate, and he did that. And he was still doing those 18 to 23 shows because, as Grady might be able to tell you and some others, we didn't always have a lot of venues in the Southeast. Well, after 3 more years of this happening, Katie left, and she didn't want to do it anymore. And Bailey was like, well, that's cool. You know, Katie's going to pass this on to my friend. Hours later, his friend abdicated, and now Bailey was doing it all. with the other volunteers, but he was producing and booking the series. Fortunately, though, a few years later, another volunteer stepped in, and his name is Kelly Walker. And Kelly was like, I'd like to be part of this, but I have experience in tech areas and in sound. And the first thing I want to do is help increase, is kind of redo your sound system because it's not really pro, like we have here tonight. And as we know, when you have a better sound system, you're more professional and you can attract more people. So 2 years later, he had finished establishing this new sound system, and he and Bailey were talking a lot, and Kelly had a lot of experience and wanted to do a radio hour. So in March 2013, Sundilla Radio Hour went on the air. So that's been 5 years. And they not only have provided, Sundilla has not only provided a forum or a place and a home. A home is really the emphasis. It is a venue, but it is a home for artists coming through nationally, through the Southeast and coming into Auburn. But they also broadcast on 7 stations now. And they're with Troy State University. And they broadcast to Alabama, Southern Florida, Georgia, New York, Colorado, and Alaska. Past people over their many, many years, it's 25 years, include Allison Brown, Dave Carter and Tracy Grammer, Joe Crookston, Cliff Eberhardt, Greg Greenway, Bill Morrissey, Red Molly, Garnet Rogers, and Beth Wood. And as a radio promoter, I checked their playlist this week, and just this Thursday, they played artists such as Guy Clark, Tim Grimm, and also SERFA favorites, Sarah Clanton, who'll be playing tonight, Kaya Cater, Ordinary Elephant, and Chuck Brodsky. So without further ado, I would like to bring up Bailey. On behalf of SERFA, we'd like to thank you so much.
Nobody told me I had to give a speech. The award says Sundilla, and I double-checked and made sure it said that and not my name, because everybody knows that no music venue is one person. I don't have time to list all of the volunteers over the years. Kari mentioned Kelly Walker. We could not, he is Sundilla Radio. Katie Smith started it. The Unitarian Church has been invaluable. It is one of the best rooms you'll ever hear, and they let us use it for free whenever we want. I've been involved for 20 years, and maybe 3 times. And all that time they said, oh, sorry, we've already got something booked. They've been incredible. My wife, Allison Comstock, thanks to her for understanding that just because there's no paycheck doesn't mean it's not a job, and that it's not work, and that it's not important. And Scott Hansen, who is one of our volunteers, who I have to mention because he's here. But he also helps run our sound, and for somebody who has in the past done everything to run a concert venue, I cannot do sound at all. So a special thanks to Scott, and this is his real name, Wildman Steve, and Dave Potts for running sound for us. And mostly thanks to the performers and to the people who come to hear them. My job is really kind of to keep a perpetual motion machine going. If I bring in good performers and people come to hear them, well, then people will come back to hear the next good performers who are going to come because they know there's going to be an audience. So all I really have to do is have good musical taste. And I think I do. And walk around the rooms here tonight, and you'll know that, yeah, I do. I have really good musical taste. And that has that's why Sundale is still around. So thanks to everybody and to SERFA and Kari and Art and everybody else. Thanks.
Congratulations, Bailey, and thanks, Kari, for that lovely presentation. Now we'll move on to a person that Kari recruited to the team and trained and does wonderful work as part of our conference committee. It's not easy to wrangle 30 private showcases going on where there's a flow and change and constant movement of artists around from one showcase to another, and then I can't come. Oh, I'm not going to be there Thursday. I'm only going to be there Saturday. And Roberta keeps all together with all of this, makes sure everybody follows our rules, and somehow pulls it off every year where we get a list of who's where and when, and then Steve and, oh my gosh, I'm spacing out from Curtis Johnson that can put together our guides for us to use. So please make welcome the lady who also keeps up with our exhibit tables and makes order out of that chaos. Please make welcome our board member, Roberta Schultz.
Thank you, Art. Well, this is my 10th draft of this today. I'm not much of a public speaker. I'm going to ask you a series of questions based on what's on page 39 of our conference program book. So deftly written by Art. How do we define folk singer for our century? Is it someone who can balance traditional music with original song? Should that artist voice speak out for a good and just society? Be a union supporter? Is it someone with endless energy and passion for music, for teaching? A versatile and consummate performer? I got to tell you, I heard him once in concert. It was perfect. Perfect. I've never heard very many perfect concerts. Who can act in a one-man play? Such an artist, activist, actor, teacher, union man, and folk singer with hundreds of songs, 37 recordings, and 6 Grammy nominations joins us today. It is our honor to present the SERFA Award to John McCutcheon.
All right, sit down. Sit down. Behave yourselves. So I'm a 6-time Grammy loser, so I've got a speech prepared. No, this is, and these award ceremonies when people give a lot of thanks, and I'll be no different. You're supposed to thank your record company, but I don't have one. You're supposed to thank your management team. Ain't got one of them either. Then you're supposed to thank God and your parents and your wife and your children. So thank you, thank you, thank you. But I would not be here 45 years into a haphazard life, professional life. I'm older than 45. Were it not for my elders. And our elders don't often get thanked. And we can never possibly thank them enough. And so I want to use this time to chart our genealogy, and mine at least, because I am a descendant of Joe Hill, and Aunt Molly Jackson, and Sarah Ogan Gunning, and Woody Guthrie. I am the son of Paul Robeson, and Pete Seeger, and Mike Seeger, and Peggy Seeger. They have a monopoly on folk music, I guess. I come from the lineage that includes Utah Phillips and Hazel Dickens and Gene Ritchie, but also Nimrod Workman and I.D. Stamper and Paul Van Arsdale and Jeanette Carter and Carrie and Ada Powers and Melvin Wine and Wilson Douglas and Currents and Minnie Hammonds. And I'd like to think that my life is a daily debt of gratitude to these people who cannot possibly be thanked for what they have left us. We are the product of their generosity and their talent. But I also want to thank all the people who sustain this community, the people who for all these thankless years have put on concerts and given us sofas to sleep on and organized potluck suppers until we are the damn experts in potluck suppers if you're a folk singer in America in the 20th and 21st century. Because without that thankless work, and you don't get thanked enough, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't have our livelihoods. And I especially want to thank my fellow musicians whose talent and passion and determination and just fucking courage makes me proud to call this community my family and them my comrades. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. Thanks so much, John. It's wonderful to have an excuse for you to come over and be with us today and receive that honor, even if you forgot Harm Stamper. Yeah. Now I'm going to bring up another person. You notice the theme of the presenters here are all people without whom we wouldn't be here today. Our registrar and webmaster who's worked so hard over the past year on our committee, a wonderful singer herself who's brought out her first album since we gathered here last year. Please make welcome Isabel Taylor.
Thank you, Art. It's a tremendous pleasure. Kathy Mattea's 18 albums are woven through with bluegrass, gospel, and Celtic influences and have garnered multiple CMA, ACM, and Grammy Awards. She has recorded mainstream hits penned by folk and bluegrass songwriters like Steve Key, Tim O'Brien, Nancy Griffith, and Larry Cordell. Her #1 country hits include Goin' Gone, 18 Wheels and a Dozen Roses, and Come From the Heart. Kathy's 1989 top 10 hit, Where Have You Been, co-written with her husband, John Vesner, won her a Grammy for Best Female Country Vocal. Her 1993 Christmas record, Good News, won a Grammy for Best Southern Country Bluegrass Gospel Album. Wow. My personal favorite is Willow in the Wind, Kathy's 1989 release, which includes covers by Patrick Alger, Claire Lynch, and Lori Lewis, accomplished songwriters who were unknown to my 25-year-old self. As I remember, my girlfriend and I sang the words to every one of these beautiful songs, playing the cassette over and over on a road trip from Buffalo to my new home in Chapel Hill. Listening again to that album earlier this week and singing in my kitchen and still remembering all the words brought me tears of joy and nostalgia. Almost 30 years later, I'm standing almost on the same stage as Kathy, and it's a bit surreal. Kathy draws inspiration from her Appalachian roots and is a torchbearer for often overlooked musical legacies like Hazel Dickens and Gene Ritchie. In 2008, she released the bluegrass-flavored Coal for the Captain Potato label. She combined her art with activism on the Coal Tour, presenting a moving program about the issues facing people living in central Appalachian coal country. No stranger to the Montreat area, Kathy has been part of the distinguished teaching staff that travels each summer to Warren Wilson College for the Swannanoa Gathering, organized by SERFA board member Jim McGill. About Swannanoa, Kathy said, "It's just very, very fun for me because there's not a lot of context where you sit with people who are digging into their own potential as artists in a serious way, and I love talking about that. I love talking about all aspects of it." Kathy was one of the artists who consulted with initial SERFA president, Kari Estrin, in shaping the then incipient organization. This is Kathy's second honor in a week. On Saturday, she was added to the Wall of Fame in her hometown of Nitro, West Virginia. So in recognition of her many contributions to our community and our culture, and on behalf of the Southeast Regional Folk Alliance, it's my honor to present the 2017 SERFA Award to Kathy Mattea.
So sweet. Thank you so much. Right here.
Don't y'all think I've said enough? Just for clarity, my hometown is Cross Lanes, West Virginia, which is across the mountain from Nitro. Cross Lanes is named for the stoplight. Nitro was named for the nitroglycerin plant that was there during World War I when the city was founded. The two choices when they named the town were either going to be Nitro or Red Wap, West Virginia, which is powder spelled backwards. So the creativity runs high where the water is a little iffy. There's been so many beautiful things said here. I mean, gosh, John, what you said is so moving, and I agree. I've seen you play. We sat backstage afterwards. Bill Cooley, my longtime guitar player, was like, "He's perfect. Every story, it was the sound, all of it. It was." I know, but I agree. And I just want to say, we're all artists here, and everyone is going to move somebody. I've already seen people sitting in hotel rooms crying at each other's songs. I've had people come and tell me stories about someone else's song that I have to hear. And I'm here to say that's the point. That's the point. The point is not whatever scale we get to do it on. It's getting to do it at all is a privilege. Having a song that means something to you, that came out of you, that touches something in someone else is the frickin' point. And even your interpretation of someone else's song that brings something new to it. That's what it's all about. We each add our particular flavor, and we're here to be part of that with each other and to celebrate it for each individual person here. So to be included and honored and invited and treated as one of the tribe is a great gift for me. And I've had a wonderful time here, and I just thank you very, very much for making me feel so. If they gave me an award my first time, they're probably not going to ask me back. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Kathy, Isabel, Roberta, John, Bailey, and Kari. Thanks to all of you for being here and sharing this special hour with us at the 2017 SERFA Conference.